Hello, my name's Martin Cousins. I'm a freelance editor, journalist, curator, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about digital content and the kinds of places we need to look to stay up to date with what's happening as a journalist and as a content creator. Just a little bit about me. I've been a journalist for about 18 years. About 10 of those have been all online, and I use some tools to help do live event coverage and curation and things like that. So I'm hopefully going to spend a few minutes just kind of talking about some things that I see, and I hope that is useful. And at the end of this I will put a link to where I am on Twitter and my blog, and so feel free to come and ask me other things if you so desire. So in terms of why is it so important to present, think about how you present your stories online. Well, clearly online is where everything is happening in terms of technological development. So, you know, in terms of our hardware, our phones are incredibly good for content, so tablets, and we still have our desktops. So people are basically consuming content in lots of different ways. So, and there is still print as well. So it's a case of thinking about what strengths the medium has in terms of what it can do for your content. And clearly online provides us with a whole range of great things we can do to really bring stories to life. You know, we can use audio, video, we can use infographics, we can use pictures, and these are just layers of types of content that really connects with people, because you know, people like stories and they like to know who's telling those stories. So you know, an interview in text can be a lot more compelling when you can hear that person, so you get some emotion. So audio is good and video is good, you can get to see them. I mean, this sounds like a kind of basic stuff, but it's really worth thinking about how you can connect with people using the tools that are available online. And I don't think a lot of this stuff is expensive, and the barriers to using it are certainly a lot lower than they used to be. So I would be encouraging you to think about the best way of presenting your content and understanding who your audience is, where they hang out online, and where they like to get their content. Is it in a Facebook page? Is it on a website? Is it in a blog? Is it just in Twitter links? I don't know, but you should know that. And then you start to build a whole sort of content strategy, if you like, around how to deliver your content and engage people around it. So I think you think about how people are consuming the content and understand who they are, and then measure the impact of what you do. So have Google Analytics, or have some analytics on everything you do, and then understand, or start to understand, how people come and engage with your content and what they do after they've been to see it, and things like that. So that would be my kind of broad brush approach to content. You know, anything is possible. It could be a slide deck on SlideShare, it could be pictures on Instagram, it could be a whole set of audio interviews, it could be all of that stitched together in one lovely bit of content. Think about the strength of the medium, and just think about the fact that most people are consuming stuff online. So you've got a lot more opportunity to bring things to life online than you have in print, and I think that's really important, and it's fun, and I think it's very exciting. So I would encourage you to try things out. Don't forget, the metrics will tell you one way or the other whether people like it or not, but don't stop yourself because you think you have to default to words. That just isn't the case. Now, in terms of being an editor and a curator, an editor I see as being someone that actually does go into content and actually make some changes to make it better before it's published. That's a very broad but kind of basic way of explaining it, but that's how I see it. And the curating part of it I think is very interesting. It's become people are very interested in curation online because curators pull together a whole bunch of content and present it to people. And it's really useful because people don't have that much time, and there's loads of great stuff out there, but how do you filter it? Well, curators can bring a whole load of stuff together and say, there you go, there's some interesting stuff on this topic. And there are a range of tools like Storify that enable you to build that up, but you're not actually editing anyone's content, you're just pulling stuff together in one place. And I think it's also really useful to have some narrative to that and explain what people have written and why that's important. But I think that people are really interested in curation online, and it's definitely an area of development. It's going to get bigger and more important, I think. In terms of starting out as a journalist, I would use your curiosity and your need to discover things to go and to find out who's saying some interesting stuff about journalism. So I think you definitely go to, in the UK, the bloggers, journalists, practitioners and academics who share what they think and what they know. And I think it's really important to find them. So you could use a service like Follower Wonk on Twitter. So get yourself on Twitter if you're not already on there and start following people, and then look at who they're following and build up some lists of people that have interesting things to say and are doing this stuff. I would go for people like Paul Bradshaw, Andy Dickinson, Adam Timworth, and in the States people like Jeff Jarvis and Jay Rosen. I mean, they're just a few of the people. There are loads of really interesting people doing lots of interesting stuff out there. It's really up to you to find them. And then there are events like News Rewired, and there are websites like Paid Content, and then journalism.co.uk, these kinds of places. But spend some time finding out who is doing what. I mean, I can provide some links for you as well, but I think you've really got to put some time in to do that, because the great thing is that loads of people share what they do, so it's really easy to find where things are going. You just got to take the time to find out, really. But you're a journalist, so that's okay. You can do that. And finally, newspapers and magazines, will we see them dying out? Well, you know, it's expensive to produce a newspaper, and less people are buying them because you can get stuff for free online. So you're going to see more and more decline, but you know, people are still buying newspapers. Whether they all die out or not, I think it's inevitable at some point. But I think that what's interesting is the fact that we're in this period of change. So publishers are beginning to reinvent what they do and trying to work out how to make money from content. So, you know, we've had attempts at paywalls. If you look at the mediabriefing.com, they have a paywalls event and they write about this kind of stuff a lot. Worth following that kind of debate. But you know, there are people just trying out new ways of making money from publishing. So I think my message around that is to try and understand where this is going, but it's in constant change. And I think that for journalists or anyone that's creating content that wants to make money from it, you've got to be thinking in a more entrepreneurial way right now. You've got to work out how you can get paid from this. I mean, it's just not easy. But that said, as the big publishing houses decline or morph into different types of businesses, there is opportunity for people to get into their subject areas and do some interesting things and potentially make some money. So I think it's a case of, you know, coming back to you understanding what you want to offer and how you want to offer it, and having an understanding of where all this is going.